Perfect. Thanks for joining me today, Brett.
Sure.
So if you could say who you are, what you do, and how you got here.
Sure. My name is Brett Fischer. I'm with the San Jose Earthquakes, and now I'm a director of procurement. Prior to that, as well as about 10 years in soccer and another 20 in ski, I've been in consumer products. So merchandising, product design and development, retail sales, your activations, whether it be grassroots, sponsorship activations, and or marketing, be it our gate giveaways or maybe our ticket combos and packages. And then actually even today, a new piece of some product lifestyle that would just be for staff only.
Nice.
To kind of create excitement around not just the brand, but some lifestyle pieces, both in and out of the day-to-day of work.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome. How did that come about?
Well, everything is always with our shield. And I felt like you can only get so many pieces with the shield.
Right.
Specifically, the jersey goes on a 2-year cycle. And while that's a really hot item, to me, if you can broaden that, more specifically not for men, but for women, because sports, generally nature, we accommodate the men, but not the women.
Right.
And so to get women's cut specific things, and then get it to where it was a lifestyle piece, to where it wasn't just your shield that maybe you feel like you're wearing clothes to work.
Yeah.
They gave you a piece that you can use for day-to-day, outdoor activity, as well as maybe travel, to where you don't stand out blaring, but you're still representing as you're not in the office, but out in the community.
Yeah. And has that always kind of been a line that you've created outside of the...
It actually has. So when I was at Real Salt Lake, I had the ability to work with the team. And do you remember when we were kids, the players only jackets, the members only jackets with the pocket?
Yeah.
Well, I took that concept with the players and worked with 6 players. And we created the tagline of members only, or players only.
That's cool.
And so it was for the players, by the players, but the fans. And so I'd work with the individual players. Back then I worked with Adam Acosta, Eddie Pope, Kyle Beckerman. And what we did is we designed an item around their lifestyle and their interest. So Adam Acosta used the nickname of Double A, and it was almost like a caboose hat.
Oh, cool.
In a funky color brown. And so we would order generally 100 items. I'd give the athlete 12, so they kind of do their marketing, and then we would create a sense of urgency, supply and demand. And as soon as the items were gone, then we'd introduce another piece.
That's
and so
cool.
Here with the Earthquakes, as we did make a transition from overseeing our own merchandise to using a third party of Fanatics, I worked with Mitchell and Ness. And we do have in store one unique hat that I worked with Tommy Thompson.
Oh, cool.
And Tommy enjoys flat brim hats. So we didn't want it to scream Earthquakes, so we used an MLS logo on the front of the hat. And then I worked with Tommy and we designed his own little mark, which is TT22.
That's awesome.
And so we delivered 72 of those hats just about 2 weeks ago in the Earthquakes team store and the stores around the stadium. And those are available, I believe there were 72 of them at $35 a piece.
Cool.
So it was something that creates a uniqueness that's valuable to the athlete, but then really capturing the emotional connection that the fans do have to the players in a simple way. And when it's limited, it allows them to kind of be able to taunt that they have something that the player does and that you don't. And as that underground culture picks up, then the timeliness of those things exhausting off shelf will continue to increase.
Supply and demand.
So,
yeah. Cool. So how did you get to this point? I mean, you said you were in skiing.
So actually when I was in high school in Cincinnati, Ohio, at Wyoming High School, there was a program called Y, and it was Wider Horizons for Youth. And it was an internship program while you're in high school to maybe assess your career orientation, your likes, your interests. You had to apply for it, interview, set forth expectations. If you were to get the opportunity, how would you go about it? And I did mine in ski shops. And so at age 15 and a half, I started working in ski shops. And through that, I learned all the back end of working in a shop. We had tennis, so I sold tennis product. I also strung tennis rackets.
Wow.
And then I began to learn the buying and the design. And then through that, I think it's fair to say I'm a little bit of a girl guy. So I'm kind of soft-spoken, very thorough and really exceeding expectations. We grew up very hospitable in the South. And so to understand your needs and your wants, and then to be able to softly take care of that, and then empower the staff to be able to react to your needs, was something that was very natural to me, not only for my experience, but then to lead that ability within a larger team.
Cool.
And so for me, it was a natural fun. The teammates got excited to watch you. They wanted to outdo you. And so it began a little bit of an internal competition to who can beat the boss.
Got it.
And we instilled that to where it was something they were empowered to do.
Right.
And if you give them first right to make sure the guest is wowed, then it's amazing how that comes back and is transparent, as well as its ability to grow your business.
Right.
So yeah.
So it was innately, you worked in ski shops, and so the merchandise thing, did that come natural to you because you worked in ski shops?
It did, and so my first, she wasn't the best, but I remember it was a feature that was really quick, and when you deal with sales, closing's important, but the education and information is there, and then there could be the ability to confuse.
Right.
And if you think about shoes for women, when you go shopping for a pair of shoes, when you get 6 pair to try on, you probably are leaving with none. You're overwhelmed. And so in ski, what we could do is we could start you with 3 boots. We could quickly eliminate 1, and now we're ending with an option of 1 or 2. And there's nonverbal communication, so that boot feels really good on your foot, left foot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And as I shake my head, you tend to follow me. In addition, if it wasn't women or men with kids, you can't see a kid's foot in a shoe. And one of the secrets I learned really young was for a child, when you ask them to wiggle their toes in their shoe, they actually wiggle their fingers. And if you look at the sides and you want to really sell, if I, who don't have children, can let you know that your child's shoe fits good because look at their fingers wiggling, then you know the shoe fits. And what happens is you really gain a quick amount of rapport and trust with the customer, of which at which point you do it right, then it creates clientele.
Right.
And I had a great experience of developing, retaining, and attracting clientele as I worked with Ralph Lauren.
Okay.
And we used the notion of love notes. So if you came shopping with me, as we were finishing up, I would have pre-written notes that I could potentially slip in your new blazer. And the first time you went and put on the blazer and put your hand in the pocket, it would be a note that said, hey, thanks for shopping with us. If we can do anything for you in the future, please reach out, and here's our card.
Cool.
And then that way you created that kind of clientele on a first touch, which therefore drove their experiences, drove their repeat customer, and more importantly, drove referrals.
Right. That's amazing.
So just a natural piece. I never liked car salesmen.
Right.
In fact, I think it's one of the most god-awful experiences, regardless of your gender.
Totally.
And so I wanted to be exactly the opposite of that, but make fun of that sales guy, but do it in a natural, peaceful way to where the consumer comes looking for you to what's new and support, rather than you going to them and saying, well, what are you going to buy today?
Right.
One of their best experiences was Real Salt Lake. I think I had over 50 credit cards on file, and on game days, they would just come say hi to you. And through that, we could take a walk to show the new items. They could pull it. I'd keep the tags, charge them later. It hit their card. And then each month, I would try and have new product, so that revolving wheel was constant. And today, when I still go back to that venue, the consumer still thinks I work there and if I can help them again. So it just goes to show the longevity of service, which today with the internet, hence even our interview today in person but on camera, that's really taken away that personal touch, and to me that's a big component of the experience, regardless of how much you spend. It ought to be a warm and fuzzy experience, and for today it's usually just give us the money and run.
Right.
So
because even when you have the interactive experience with a bot or something like that, you can tell that it's a bot and it's not personable.
It is. And you know, one of the things I even learned was really young was, instead of saying no, try and figure out if you can exceed their expectation, and if you're able to exceed their expectation in a unique way, they're a customer for life. And that was really critical, because the consumer believed that you cared. You maybe didn't meet the need that they're after, but you had an alternative, and they would recognize that you go above and beyond, and that would drive that customer for life.
Yeah. Can you give an example of that happening?
Absolutely. We had custom names and numbers for the United States men's and women's national team.
Okay.
And as the World Cup would go on, or friendlies, when that consumer wanted the font related to their emotional connection to a player, then we could facilitate that name and number from the U.S. national team on maybe a MLS jersey. And the customer might not have had that connection, but because they had the emotion to the athlete and wanted to represent them both on their home team as their country team, then blending the jersey with the name and number kit that's part of the national team was a way to exceed their expectation, and they knew that there was a willingness to help them meet and exceed their needs, and therefore they would come back and they would do that with an open checkbook. Of course, checkbook back then.
Yeah.
Today I probably Apple Pay
Yeah.
or a Samsung Touch.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So how did you transition from ski and resort to MLS?
Well, in 2005, I was working at Alta Ski Area, and I was coaching 3 teams, 2 U12 and a U14 team.
Okay.
And through that, the kids were always lively, and I had bought in, and I was in the first 100 of new season tickets in 05 for Real Salt Lake as an expansion team.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was doing that, I was bringing some of the ideas of my work in ski into soccer with swag, because in ski areas we do a lot of demos.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started working a way to find the kids some swag. And as I was getting the swag, the Real Salt Lake was always feeling like I was there. They were kind of behind the ball. And so one of the guys that worked in Real Salt Lake, because I was at one of the games, had a passion for skiing. And so he and I were able to connect. He was, at the time, he was the vice president of corporate sponsorships,
Okay.
John Kimball.
Mm-hmm.
And our ski connection gave us a greater connection about just the world of soccer and maybe some of the similarities or differences.
Right.
And we had Real Madrid coming to play Real Salt Lake. And there was a relationship that Dave Checkett has, as the ownership at the time, was trying to blend Real Salt Lake and Real Madrid as a relationship, and maybe they come to us and we would go to them for training. And so with that friendly, there was a huge dollar bill on the ground, which was a consumer products for Real Madrid.
Right.
And so with John in the helm, I said, hey, I maybe could help as a volunteer, and if this goes over well, then maybe I can transition from ski to soccer. And boy, it went over $250,000 in the game.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you that it was a perfect flow, but it certainly prevailed.
Yeah.
And then I believe it was August 28th of 2006, I had an opportunity to transition from ski to soccer.
Cool.
At the time, I was a little fearful because I'd lived above 9,000 feet for about 12 years. So now I was coming out of my love of the mountains and into the city.
Right.
And it was wonderful. Worked indirectly and directly with the team, the fans, to where it was instant clientele.
Yeah.
And then that clientele really exploded to where it wasn't only what the team thought we needed and wanted, but we began to really use the connection with the fan and the emotional connection to let them drive a lot of our product. And that product began to be very authentic, and it was a lot more of product out of the locker room or the on-field product, which had a much greater price point.
Right.
But with that emotional connection, the fan didn't see it about $1.
Right.
They were really seeing it as an emotional connection.
Right.
It went as far. One experience was great. We had just gotten the new jerseys. I believe it was 2009. We had just come off moving into a new stadium, and the fans really wanted long sleeve jerseys. Well, Major League Soccer never offered that to the consumer. It was only in the locker room.
Interesting.
And so I worked with the equipment manager that he ordered 100 extra long sleeve jerseys. I bought some product that I'm selling extra in the store, and we traded. And that began the opportunity of now long sleeve jerseys in Major League Soccer.
Got it.
Which went on for about 6 years. And now as we roll into 2019, long sleeve jerseys again will no longer be available to the public,
Oh, interesting.
but also to the players. So now they're going to only have short sleeve jerseys with the matching color compression.
Okay.
And so it was the ability to find the needs and the wants of the consumer, align it with their emotional connection, the means and the goals of the business, and let that become the customer providing the needs and wants,
Right.
which therefore you didn't have to worry about sell-through
Yeah.
because you were meeting the needs of the consumer.
Right. So how do you then and even now find out what the consumer wants?
Well, no different than maybe you're reaching out to interview for your class. To me, it really boils down to 3 things that the consumer's after. Number 1 is experience. Number 2, there is price elasticity. Number 3 is product availability. And within that product availability, if you're able to recognize the features, the advantages, and the benefits of the product, you can align that with the consumer.
Okay.
The feature of the jersey is it's a product to wear. The advantages is emotional connection. The benefit is I'm representing a brand, I'm representing my emotion, and now I'm able to more or less like play that I'm part of the team. And when you're able to assess those emotional connections, exceed the expectation on service, the consumer will give you dollars and cents that you never believed.
Right.
And one of those was the new jersey comes out, a consumer has no cash, gets a cash advance with his bank, which was Wells Fargo, in the store for $500, and uses $460 within a matter of 15 minutes of that cash advance to get the new product because of his loyalty, his passion,
Wow.
his commitment. Maybe not the best decision financially, but that isn't for me to
Right.
manage. It was to manage the experience, the
Right.
product, and then the end result.
Right. I have so many questions from that.
Stephen Covey was one that we grew up with. My dad worked with Procter & Gamble. And so I was instilled with seek first to understand
Okay.
and then to be understood.
Okay.
And I took that business application through Stephen Covey and I applied that, no different than our interview, to the consumer. And when you let the consumer vent positive and negatively, and then you react to that, you have a customer for life.
Right.
Because too often does a consumer share their experience, their needs or their wants. Might be unrealistic, but if you will hold that, acknowledge it, and then give a little bit of backtrack to that, it's amazing the loyalty that you can get in a customer. And it's amazing how they will be your connectors to where additional consumers can tell you greatness, or they'll also be willing to share their complaints.
Right.
And if you can hold those, there's a book I believe that I read years ago called A Complaint is a Gift. If you take that complaint and make it a gift to that consumer, they will actually be a tipping point and a connector to tell their experience to more consumers than you can.
Right.
And that will drive your business in a unprecedented manner.
Right. Would you say that the referrals are still your best selling point versus going through social media or whatever it might be?
I'm going to say yes because of my age. So I think smartphones today, the majority of people get a brand new one. I don't think we're using 30% of the capacity of a phone. And to me, when you have an event and everybody's taking the picture, those pictures are great, but the moment of capturing that for your life experience is even better.
Right.
And so for me to be able to engage with a consumer, maybe gift them, at least thank them, acknowledge them when you see them, respond to them in a timely manner, absolutely, that's a fan for life. And with today's connection of technology, where is that continuing? And that's still continuing in brick and mortar.
Right.
And now I would even compliment, and it's funny to say, but banking. Think of Capital One, and we always have the fun commercials. Capital One is beginning to change their banking experience to not just going into a branch with tellers, but they're now creating cafes. And so that cafe gives me a chance to go to a place where I can hang out. As I hang out, I can maybe engage with a current person, or maybe I meet a new person, or now maybe I get a new business or opportunity or networking.
Yeah.
So it goes to show that if you give a platform of people to engage the good old-fashioned way, it's amazing what could be for later today, tomorrow, or the future.
Right. So going back to merchandise and evolving with times and engaging with the customer, the youth sector, I feel like is always changing. There's always something happening new. How do you stay in times with that?
Well, fortunately, I'm almost 50, so I hopefully am still in my 30s in my spirit. And then really it's the ability to take care of the parent, kind of like the ski boots,
Right.
to where the parent has a confidence that you're going to help the sibling, the child, the sibling, or the stepchild. And through that, it is maybe not letting them go get it, but having someone help them get their sizes, show them the options. Have trinkets in the store that make the kid feel at ease. Too often when children are shopping with their parents, the parent gets focused on their needs or maybe trying to help the kid, and then the kid's left kind of lingering. I'm always a believer, put something in that kid's hand, he thinks it's a cool spot,
Right.
and then he wants to come back and hang out because he felt at home.
Right.
The league has not been great about delivering product for youth.
Interesting.
And the same thing goes for women. So kind of seeing the women and kids as a crossover. Maybe women can get some of the kids' product. Kids might not get the women's product, but if you can mirror that to where the child can look like the girl can look like the mom, or the boy can look like the dad, we've tried to mirror some of that in store.
Okay.
And the other one I think is price sensitivity. In sports, majority of the product is licensed product,
Right.
so there's a little bit of attack of price.
Right.
So we have to find the sensitive price point that's good for clothing. As maybe I'm growing this way, kids might grow short to tall. At a $35 price point for a t-shirt,
Right.
how long am I going to be able to use that?
Yeah.
So you have to be sensitive to price, make the child feel welcome in a place where they want to come, and then once they've left, then they say that was cool and I want to come back. And when they come back, remembering their name makes them feel just as special as the parent who maybe has the checkbook, but the child certainly can draw the parent in, and hopefully the parent then opens up that checkbook because of the kid's wants and needs. A simple one was a stuffed animal. At $15 that was resembled of Q, our mascot, and to create that, the sales of that alone was absolutely incredible because it was less than 20 bucks. The parents get an $85 or $120 jersey, but the kid wants something, and so that $15 plush was a home run, and then that not only was with them at the game, but it was an emotional connection when they got home, which drew them back to want to come as again, which sometimes sitting for 2.5 hours for a kid, even me as an adult, to sit that long is difficult. So now it gave them a reason to see the value of that, and then maybe they brought that plush again, which now connected them again further to the guest, to the experience. So.
What other items? I mean, plush is easy, but is there anything else that would be easy to do for the youth?
We did temporary tattoos. Believe it or not, this has been now the second year, but actually clear bags because of stadiums and security heightened given the world we live in. A clear bag has become one. We tried to use fingernail polish, face tattoos, finger painting, face paint. And with a 2.5 hour snapshot, sometimes the parent sees that as a mess. So the easy ones were the plush, the tattoos, and then really a price point of a t-shirt that was at $22 or less. And by not having cotton and not white, because with a child white gets filthy immediately, and sometimes as a parent they might not want to wash. So $22 or less on a t-shirt, the plush, or a toy, or something that can be a tchotchke to put in their hand. We used to do coloring competitions at halftime, and it gave an attraction to the child to where they were part of it, and then for them to come back and be able to show their parents or their friends their artwork, whether it was good or bad or indifferent, was a way for them to feel like they were part of something. So again, maybe it's not the dollars, but if you can drive the emotion, then there's a willingness that they return, and then at that point it might open that pocketbook even wider. So think of the experiences first and the dollars to follow. So you can't drive down a snowy road unless you plowed it first.
And you work with sponsorship department as well, or even just marketing and giveaway items.
We do.
How do you suggest certain items for certain sponsors and certain games?
Well, I think for me, the number one is I've been a swag guy my whole life. So when you were in ski, it was swag, and then there was competition to sell, and then reward to resemble those brands. To me, it's pretty much spinning your head 360 degrees wherever you go. So when you're driving, is there a license plate frame? Is there a rear view mirror cover? Is there a sticker on the car? Is there a cling on the car? Is there a car flag? So it's number one, looking, so 360 in your head, and then it's trying to be innovative and anticipative. So what categories of products do the consumers use? What has the highest retention of use? Do they keep it? Do they not keep it? Do they use it? Do they wear it? Do they love it? If I've given you an extra large t-shirt, I've probably almost lost a customer because number one, it doesn't fit you, because you need it small. You're not sure what to do with it now that you've gotten it. You don't know who to ask to exchange it. You're probably a little uneasy to ask to exchange it. So it's a matter of finding the right product, not dealing with sizing, dealing with something that's usable, and then once it's usable, continuing to be innovative. One of those would be season ticket holder gifts. So what's the best gift? What are they going to use? What are they going to see of value? This year we tried a barbecue set. We couldn't distribute it here in the stadium because it was a poker. But what we did is sent them and then had a designated pickup. It's been really well received because one of the top items that we learned of categories is kitchen items. So that was a great item, and the notion that I took upon was you're with us whether we're home or on the road, and your barbecue set was something that you can use day to day. And whether we're playing at home and you're tailgating, you can use it, but if we're on the road, you can still resembling your brand loyalty while you're cooking as you're watching the game at home, or maybe a watch party.
That's awesome.
So the connection of the fan, and then a little bit asking the fan. So how many times in a day, actually as you're recording on your phone, do you think that you touch your phone?
A lot.
On average, 86 times in a day.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I said I thought a good giveaway would be something on your phone. So if you are touching your phone 86 times in a day in a week, you're just shy of 500 impressions.
Right.
What a great way to get brand awareness and brand exposure. So we did little wallet pieces for your phone. We then did pop sockets before they got a trademark on it, so the cost got doubled before we had done that.
Got it.
We also did little key rings, and then I made stickers that could go on the back of the phone.
Cool.
So a little bit of education and information. You got to do your due diligence of research.
Yeah.
And then when you get the research, how can you bring it back and make those dollars of marketing or sponsorship activation come to life by brand awareness, brand exposure, and then driving clientele not only once but repetitive.
Right.
So scarves and hats, you can do that every game.
Yeah.
But at which point you've given away so many hats and scarves, how does that drive and affect your retail business from new products?
Right.
And by any means, look at Stanford, a game of 50,000.
Yeah.
Whatever is given out at Stanford in the past, it's been a scarf or a hat. You'll see that for not 1 but 2 years to follow.
Right.
And in this case, Sutter Health has gotten great response of that activation because generally they're presenting sponsor of Stanford.
Yeah.
And it was a scarf giveaway in 16, and then 17 was a hat.
Okay.
And you can still see those in the community,
Yeah.
whether they're out and about or at a game here,
Right.
or even for me, I was in LA, and it was amazing to see some of
Oh,
those
cool.
activations there.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. So one of the students had a question of what impact are you looking to make in the world?
For me, it's an impact that he is fun as a customer, that he's willing to meet or exceed your expectation, and maybe it might not be traditional, but we'll find a way. And the other one is, in order to take care of the customer, you got to take care of your staff. And my objective with the staff is, this is our river. We're going to flow down it together. You can do anything that you need within the boundaries of the river. If there's an opportunity to get out of the river, if you can ask me to help, once we've gotten out, we can certainly broaden the width of the river, but we just want to make sure that it's a good, safe experience and a good way to go about it.
Right.
And the other one to that is making the consumer feel like they're number one. So being quick to respond to their needs, to thank them,
Right.
to know them by name, to have a little bit of memory, so when they come in, they feel like they're not coming in to spend dollars, they're coming in to see their friends. And more importantly is when the staff leaves, is they've grown their career,
Right.
that in the next place they get, they wish that they were still working with me because of the ability to lead, to mentor, to coach, and more importantly, to empower.
Right.
And to me, when you deal with customers, to have to call me on the radio and the consumer to wait,
Yeah.
their rage can go up.
Right.
If you empower the consumer with boundaries to take care of the guest, that goes a long way, and quite frankly, you'd be surprised how quickly you can suppress their frustration
Right.
when the staff member can immediately respond to your need instead of them waiting for 10 minutes for me to show up.
Right. Right. Right.
So loyalty, great customer service, willingness to coach, to mentor, and to make sure that as they leave, that they're creating a legacy of our working rapport and sharing that with their new place, and then at the same time wishing they were still working with me.
Yeah.
So.
Have you thought about implementing those love notes here in some capacity?
We did do that. My
did?
first year, what we did is we signed it for the management crew that we were, and then we had that as a bounce back. So thank you for shopping with us, and here's a $5 voucher that you can use, or you can pass to a guest or a friend.
Cool.
And if you came in and forgot the voucher, we can still honor it, and now you have another one to do.
Cool.
So yeah. And then we also used SJ74, that if you, a lot of our games, if you spent $74 or more with us, we had a gift with purchase.
Oh, cool.
And that would be anywhere from a trucker hat to our pop socket. I think we had a pair of socks. We did decks of cards. We tried to be creative and find things that you could use at home.
Yeah.
And we tried to do things that weren't sized.
Right.
Because as we said earlier, if I give you an extra large, it did no good.
Right.
And then in the end, we've created a great thing. But when you got home, was it really a lasting impression?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So you were saying, you know, once people leave here, you hope that the legacy lives on. What's next for you, or where do you want your career to go?
Oh, well, I guess age is getting there, and since I've been in consumer products my whole life, this is the first 90 days in my whole life that I've ever had just a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So to me, continue to drive brand awareness and brand attraction and create excitement. So I'm trying to do that within the new role of procurement, to where trying to have quarterly events for the internal team, which is an ability to reward and recognize internally.
Yeah.
And if you do that internally, then to me that makes the engine better for the external.
Right.
And then for me, I'd actually really enjoy to have my own boutique of sports shop, to where it's an ability to not only have product, but a place to gather. And then you can kind of get tickets for any event. Maybe we take a bus trip to a soccer game, a baseball game, or for me to get back to my core of ski, to now we can have all those brands represented, and now we can take a road trip to Tahoe to go ski.
Cool.
And then when we're done, we can come enjoy après ski at the bar, and then enjoy a soccer game.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
tying in the lifestyle of outdoor and sport into one, and doing all that by driving superior customer service in a place to where you feel like it's home.
Cool. Have you been to Sports Basement?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah, probably more of a big box than I am. To me, the delicate brands and the small ones are something that I've been able to be a part of through branding. And so why Sports Basement is incredible, to a lot of consumers it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So
Very
to me, if you have a place to where I know you by name when you come in, you have a problem with your bike, or you have a problem with the ski, you needed a new ski brake, I would enjoy the smaller, kind of going back to the experience driven,
Yeah.
to where your sales are less, but it's a family business feel, to where hey, it could even be just come and we'll watch a movie premiere of a ski, maybe we have a watch party, and then a few food trucks, to where you feel like it's a place just to come hang out, rather than a place where you feel like you walk in and it's how big is your checkbook.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Cool. You spoke a little bit about procurement, probably not saying that correctly, and merchandise. What's the difference between the two roles that you've had, and where, because in merchandise I would assume that you're helping with the design of certain things and working with Adidas. In procurement you're probably not doing that as much.
Actually, I was able to kind of continue doing that since I've been
great.
seeing that for many years, not just here at San Jose, but also in Columbus and Real Salt Lake, and then into ski. And so to me, I saw it as an ability to still drive your branding, but then have the ability to negotiate for not only the cost of freight, and then maybe an ability to reduce dollars, because I can be a big planner.
Right.
So if you wanted a plan to give a bobblehead away, is another team, maybe not in Major League Soccer, but through our promotional company, working as a gate giveaway there, that I can use the idea of procurement to get the bobbleheads included in their buy, and volume will drive the price down.
I see.
So what would be different, I think was the question.
Yeah.
Number one is consumer products, you're working 8 days a week. So this week would be a great example. We had a game on Wednesday of Chivas versus Pumas, rolled right into a Saturday game of the Earthquakes against Cruz Azul, a Mexican La Liga team. A lot of times you have to turn the building to accommodate the product. So it is an 8 day a week, 24 hours a day, and planning is everything. If you don't plan, you're losing. And that could be based on the sizes, it could be the product, it could be your backstock, the ability to get it forward. So consumer products I would offer is probably a planning of anywhere from 6 months to 12 months in advance. Procurement has that ability, but it also is very reactive, because as you evolve the business or you're working with a client, for instance, sponsorship activation, when you're looking for a jersey partner, you might need to have an embellished jersey to present to a potential new client in 3 days. Where when you buy consumer products, we're booking product in June for delivery in February. So it's very different, but it's very similar in the sense that you're still managing a bottom line, you're negotiating, you try and manage your inventory in consumer products and procurement. You need to make sure that what you're ordering is the correct number, and you're better to order to the just-in-time inventory instead of backstock of inventory, because that's going to tie up cash. So it's really a big picture. And then to me, Procter & Gamble, as I started with my dad, they both correlate to the objectives, the goals, the strategies, and the measures of the business. And that model is the deployment process, which was very big when I was growing up at Procter & Gamble. But it's a fun way to think, because objectives are your goals, which are your words. The goals are the numbers. So we have words to numbers. Then you get to strategies, those are our words, and then the measures are numbers. And if you're able to think of it that way, OGSM writing the words to meet the numbers, managing the numbers, and analyzing where we are, where we're going. Are we going to meet or exceed, or do we need to react because we're falling short?
Right.
And those characteristics, to me, outside of the customer, correlate to consumer products or procurement. The difference is the interaction with the consumer.
Right.
And it's understanding the consumer's needs, sizing, their idiosyncrasies, which could be perception, could be I want it now and you don't have it. The other one was really big, was the notion that soccer was driven around athletes. We went to a 2x. What about the 3, 4, and 5x consumer? And that was a process of kind of pushing to where now we can meet their needs. In the past, we learned that if I took 2 extra large jerseys and cut the panel out of the one and put it in the other, we could make a 3 or 4x, but the cost was incremental.
Right.
So then the league understood that now there's a demand, and now we're able to meet that supply with the demand to now really fulfill a new customer that might not be athletically fit to be on the field, but we shouldn't discredit them to still be a fan and provide the product. It's not all the product, but now there's 3, 4, and 5x that's provided in about 6 to 8 pieces.
Nice.
Some of it on field, and some of it just fanware.
Cool. And going back to the fanware, I mean, I see it's Columbia on your jacket. How was that with the relationship with Adidas?
Well, that's a great question, because Adidas is actually your presenting sponsor for all on-field product.
Right.
And they also provide employee uniforms for every team based on what's called a Schedule C. So we had the ability to create a lifestyle brand, and that brand was represented with the league through a licensing deal, but on game days you still need to utilize the Adidas product because Adidas is the presenting sponsor of our on-field product and the venue for games. So it was expressed to the staff that as we did this order, it's great to have it for lifestyle, but when you do work, you need to still be representing the Adidas. You can have this as an underpiece, such as a vest, but what you're displaying to the guest on the outside still needs to be Adidas, and that needs to be clear and understood prior to you buying the Columbia product.
Got it. Cool. Awesome. Any other questions? You already talked about how you utilize the athletes at Real Salt Lake, how you did it here. What's your off season like?
Well, this is going to be my first off-season in procurement.
Right.
However, again, I'm a Virgo and I look at planning as everything. What is it? 10% planning, 90% execution. Off-season to me, one of my big goals is I feel like every sports team, when their schedule comes out, you know the giveaways for every game. We've been evolving, and it's always a TBD.
Right.
And so for me, the off season would be working with our promotional vendor to create a calendar of the products that can align to the calendar with the sponsors. So as we present our schedule for 2019, every giveaway is correlated to the schedule, just like every other Bay Area sports team, which in the end I think helps drive the season ticket sales as well as individual game sales in advance of those games rather than just a week or two of a build-up.
That's genius.
So that would be one. The other one is a plan of working with the giveaways or working with our ticketing group to understand their needs and wants and seeing if we can leverage some of those buys to be part of bigger buys, or that we can do it in a timely manner. So we have it sitting on the dock, seeing if there's an ability to get it as a closeout, a promotion, or if we can plan ahead to put a couple promotions together to buy a blank product that we can use for multiple activations.
Nice.
And then there's planning for our neighborhood nights, which is 17 to 20 different communities within San Jose that we can activate to where they feel like home away from home here at Avaya Stadium. So understanding those needs to get the designs of that ready so that product promotion and positioning can be in advance rather than, like I said, the week to two. And then working with Fanatics to understand some of the potential build out that they'll do, as they did make a commitment to some capital investment. Understanding the product mix and product placement, looking at maybe the hours of the operation to make sure they're in line with not only the needs of the consumer, but now the third-party consumer. And then thinking about a New Jersey launch as we head into February, as the home kit is going to be unveiled as a New Jersey this year.
Cool. Were you a part of the unveil with, was it at Sutter Health when it was over in Alameda?
Absolutely, yeah. That was our away jersey, and we had the team come in on one of the boats, and then celebrated the making of the little community fields there, and then the jersey launch there.
Yeah.
So we generally are designing jerseys. We're currently on the jersey design of 2020. So you're about 18 months to 24 months out from all the different steps.
Okay.
And so within San Jose, I've been part of the primary kit and then the secondary kit. Now we're looking at a primary for 2021. With Real Salt Lake was in the jersey design from 06 to 12, and then in Columbus for a 2-year cycle.
Cool.
So yeah, so something that's fun. It seems to go back and forth. A lot of times it's very open when it starts with Adidas, but it seems as we get closer and closer, it's a little bit more funneled to their design.
Got it.
And then there are some of their innovations, but I think there's generally been a win-win to make sure that it's meeting their needs, our needs, and then hopefully the ability to meet and exceed the needs and wants of the customer.
Right, right.
The 20 current jersey of our way was different because it was the first jersey in Major League Soccer that was a donatable partner rather than just that of a jersey. So we had an alliance, and certainly as you mentioned the jersey launch, it was out at the Navy SEALs Foundation environment, and it was the first time that we had a seal the Navy SEAL Foundation on the back of every jersey, whether it's our authentic or replica, and a proceed to every jersey sold is going back to the Navy SEALs Foundation, which was a 2-year cycle.
Cool.
And we're just finishing cycle 1.
Nice.
So that was a neat activation and something unique, not only for us as an individual team, but also for the league.
Right, and was that league pushed, or was that something that...
Actually, that was internal. Dave Cavill had our previous president, who now is the president of the A's. He had a good rapport and relationship there, and it was something that we thought would spark the notion of philanthropy as well as a derivative of your jersey.
Cool.
And a lot of times there's a little less buzz when it's your secondary jersey. So we thought that that would create a tagline and a story that would drive that exposure in a unique way. And it was one that had been not, really done before. I think the only other prior thought like that was the unfortunate mishap of the collapse of Livestrong, but that was the naming rights for the Sporting Kansas City Stadium, and that was really the same type of opportunity of first naming rights to where there was dollars going back to the partner rather than dollars coming in for funding.
Right, right. That's interesting. Where was I going to go off from that? There was a question about the jersey. Oh, with Adidas, I know that they're doing a lot of stuff with the ocean, with the plastic in the ocean. Is there anything moving forward with that?
There is. Actually, the jersey from the All-Star game that we hosted here in 16 was the first beginning of utilizing recycled product on the jersey, and that was focused on the 2016 All-Star game hosted here as the MLS All-Stars played Arsenal. That concept is now relevant in all the jerseys. This past year, the league created an initiative around Earth Day, and we had a special delivery of what was called a parlay jersey. And the parlay jersey was all recycled product in order to deliver the Earth Day jersey. It came in 2 color Pantones. One was like an off-white, or my colorway is called E-Crew. And the other one was more or less like a dark gray. If you were the visiting team, you were wearing the crew color, and if you're the home team, you were wearing the dark gray. It was a wonderful experiment. It is now going to be an annual event, and they're not only looking at that for Earth Day, but a couple other activations to where they can use the philanthropy of recycled jerseys and make that a league initiative, as well as I believe there's a commitment to really drive over 1 million pair of shoes using those same recycled products.
That's awesome.
One that I saw was just out as I believe I saw a new recycled piece to where they're going to begin to use shells from the bottom of the ocean for product design and development of both footwear and clothing.
Cool.
Which probably is no different than how they did that with bamboo years ago. Now bamboo sheets, I don't know if you've ever had that.
I've seen them.
But that is like a slip and slide, yeah. I think if you're not slipping, you're definitely sleeping, because it's a completely different feel to product. And that recycled product does a little bit of that as well.
Got it. Cool. Anything else that you'd want to share with the students, or?
Being open, as you and I have been. If the students have a need or a want, they're welcome to email me directly. as I shared with you, it was interesting not knowing, but you had mentioned that they usually have to do some research. So I think there's been about 6 students that already did look. So between LinkedIn, or I'm happy to give you can put it at the end, an email or phone number if they wanted to ask additional questions, or maybe philosophies, or just, hey, you know, who, what, how, why, and when. Happy to give you that, and then they can reach out at any point, and or even come visit if they want.
Great.
So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Great.
Enjoy.
All right.